Hello everybody, welcome to the Cowboy Bebop Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I'm here to talk about Cowboy Bebop is canceled. Now that, to me, it's just like, I ended up not hating the show. And it's a show that in hindsight, the live action Cowboy Bebop got canceled. Only after 3 weeks of being released. Now, Netflix cancellations are a dime a dozen. Netflix cancels every fucking thing. Eventually. Especially if they have to put money down on it. But Cowboy Bebop, to me, the more I thought about it, the less I liked it. I initially had given the show, the live action Cowboy Bebop, a 7. The more I thought about it, I dropped it down to about a 6. There's still aspects about that show, and there's still a lot of things about that show that I enjoyed. I did enjoy the trio and the back and forth between the three of them. But the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, like, you know, while I did like their version of Faye, it wasn't the Faye that it wasn't the anime Faye. It wasn't that. It was something totally different. Which I understand they wanted to go for something different on, but like, I'm starting to come around to the idea that the original Cowboy Bebop was damn near perfect. I have complaints about it, but it was damn near perfect. It was so damn near perfect that if you're gonna make a live action adaptation of it, you better be damn sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you're coming up with, whatever new thing you're doing is good. You better not be just doing something different just to be different, because when you're fucking with something that's in my opinion a masterpiece, you better have some ideas. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot go off on limbs. And that show just went off on insane limbs. Like, now that it's been weeks, I can really get into the reasons why this show probably got canceled. First of all, they changed so many things from the anime, from Jet having a kid and his ex-wife, having this whole thing with his kid and his ex-wife and a cop boyfriend that she's with, and you know, there's a whole bunch of gags in the show, sexual gags in the show that are just cringe-worthy. There's a sequence where it's particularly with Jet and this one older white woman who was just like, every line that comes out of her mouth towards Jet is flirtatious, and it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be like, oh, this older woman wants some of Jet. But it just comes off so cringy, and then particularly a line that was going around Twitter, you know, that I remember seeing before I had even seen the show, and I was like, what the fuck? Is the whole Jet being like, are you trying to blackmail me? And her going, well, yeah, because you are black and you are definitely male. And it was just like, what the fuck is this show? Some of the dialogue choices were pretty bad. They kept trying to add stuff to things that didn't, like, there are certain stories, and there's like, to me, one of the things that makes Cowboy Bebop even more interesting is that there's so much mystery behind certain things. You don't know the answer to everything. You really don't. We find out a lot of answers to, like, the most important questions, but a lot is left in mystery. A lot is left in, you know, to predict, like, just left in the ether to just predict what happened. And they tried to add extra context to things. Now, a lot of times when people do adaptations of things that don't have a lot of context to them. Like, say you're making an adaptation of, I don't know, the original Mario Brothers. That story doesn't have a lot of context to it. You know, it's simple, it's pretty, like, straightforward. So you, as the creator who's working on this, has to add more stuff to it to make it a full, fulfilling story. They tried to do that to certain stories. Like, for instance, the first story, where, you know, this one dude, I can't remember what his name is, but this one dude with the couple who were trying to sell the red eye drug, and you know, the girl who's pregnant, but it turns out her belly is actually full of the red eye drug. That whole story played out almost the same, but it went totally different first of all, Faye wasn't even in the original part. She doesn't show up in the first episode. Faye doesn't show up. I don't think Faye shows up until like the second episode or something like that. Maybe she does. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. But one thing that I know for sure wasn't in the original anime was this whole thing with like the one chick being like, oh, she's the daughter of this rich guy who rich father who abuses her, and she doesn't want to go back to him, and basically it changed the context of the story, because the original story was she was in love with this man, she wanted to go off and run away with this man. Once she realized that he had a problem, that it was all doomed, that she was screwed, once she realized that, she fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Once she realized that they weren't going to be able to make it out, that they weren't going to be able to live happily ever after together. Like, she could have still lived, but once she realized that she, she killed him and let herself die. And let herself die because it was like a dream died. I was dreaming, a dream died. But this version of it was different, because she could have got out of this completely scot-free, but she basically killed herself because she'd rather die than go back to her father. And it was like, and it changed the context of it from the original story. And they do that a lot, but particularly with Vicious. Vicious is done awfully. I mean, terribly. Like, at first, maybe he wasn't that bad. It's not that bad that they wanted to go with the British actor and kind of play that up. But they made him a whiny bitch. A dangerous whiny bitch, but a whiny bitch nonetheless. They made him this, they tried to add more context to it. They really ended up going with this angle where they made him the disgruntled, the angry, upset, prince of the king, because his father is like the head of their organization. Head of that crime organization, and they made him the son, and they gave him this whole complex where he's petty, he's got this, he's fearful, he's a coward, he's got all of these things with it, where I saw what they were trying to do. They were trying to make Vicious more of a fully rounded character, but that's not what Vicious is. In the anime, Vicious is cold, calculating. You never quite know what's going on in his mind, but Vicious is supposed to be like at least from what I saw, like a dark version of fucking Spike. Like this, take away the coolness, take away it all, and you're just left with this coldness. Because Spike has these moments where he is cold. Like, Vicious is that all the time. Vicious is like the dark side of Spike. That's their whole thing. He is just cold, calculating man. He's in shadows a lot. You don't see him unless some shit's going down. Like, they really play him up, and like he is this figure of this imposing figure who is intimidating. He had this entire well thought out plan to take over the organization. And there's so much that they screwed up with Vicious, but making him a little bitch was definitely one of them. They really ruined him. They really downplayed him. And honestly, it was at that point that I realized, I was like, okay, this show, while I like things about it, there's things that this is just not working. And even the Julia thing aspect. Now, all disclose with all, I said that I don't think the original Cowboy Bebop anime is perfect. And one of the aspects that I never really got on board with, though I understand what they were going for. You hear me say that a lot, because I try to be fair about things. I can understand when you're going with something and completely see what you're seeing and it not still hit with me as you intended to. And that's what I felt about the Julia character in the original Cowboy Bebop. I never really got to see her. So I never really I never really got to really understand why Spike was so in love with her and so obsessed with her. I never really did get that. And that's one of my only complaints. I never really bonded to her as a character. When she died, it never hit me. I was just like, okay. But that's just me. And they tried to do something different here. Because in the original anime, if I remember correctly, Julia's on the run too. Like, Spike's dead, so they don't even know he's alive for a chunk of the, the show. But Julia is on the run. She's not married to Vicious. They did this thing. She's married to Vicious. She's this damsel in distress who's married to Vicious because Who knows? I don't see how her and Vicious could even fall in love. They tried to have this whole episode that was going to be the backstory episode, but even that ended up not even working out as well, because the problem is the story they were trying to tell was like this woman, you know, between these two men, and they're trying to tell this interesting, fascinating story, but it ended up just coming off bad because you did not, because like sure, Vicious and Spike, when they were working together when they were younger, saw Julia at the same time, they both fell in love with her. But the difference is they skimmed through the relationship between Vicious and Julia while they're dating. So it just looks like, so when her and Spike, cheat and have sex and whatnot, it comes off like literally they had a bad day and she decided to cheat on him a moment later. It comes off super bad. It doesn't come off good at all. And the thing that they were going for was he's in love with her and she's got a thing for him, and Vicious is taking her for granted, and that's why Spike did it. But we haven't seen these two characters interact throughout the course of this episode, this flashback, until they had one moment where they had a bump and looked in each other's eyes, and now they're fucking. It didn't make any sense. And I saw what they were trying to go for. That's this show in a nutshell. I see what they're going for, but they still failed at it. There are a ton of things, and particularly that twist at the end where Julia, who's a character who doesn't really show up in the anime until the last couple episodes and dies. Julia, turns out she betrays Vicious and she betrays Spike to become the kingpin of the... I'm like, yeah, at that moment I was like, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but but I saw what they're trying to do. Because I personally didn't find the Julia character that fascinating in the OG anime. So I saw what they were trying to do. They were trying to make her interesting. Or to me, they're trying to make her more interesting. They're trying to make her more fascinating. They're trying to make her more of a three-dimensional character. But it didn't work. And that's why this show got canceled. It didn't work on many levels. And for Netflix, it cost too much. So, anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please be like, subscribe. And what do you think about Cowboy Bebop being canceled? Why do you think it's the real reason it got canceled? And what is your opinions on the show as a whole? Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.